You know, one of the, I think, concerns that people have when they think about coming to Yellowstone in the wintertime is cold. You know, you see the weather reports, and Yellowstone can often be the coldest place in the nation. I think the best part about cold is that, you know, you have incredible frost on the trees, the waterfalls are frozen over. You know, you have this contrast between boiling water and frigid air. And so it's almost, I like to compare it to an oasis in the desert. That when you go to the desert, where's the place you want to go and see, and why? You want to see that contrast between the dry desert and the green oasis. And I think that's the exact same thing that winter in Yellowstone is. It's the contrast between, you know, sometimes brutally cold, but brutally beautifully cold. I'm Arden Bailey. I'm with Yellowstone Expeditions. Started this company about 31 years ago and do tours in Yellowstone Park. We're the only people who do this in the park currently. We kind of think of our predecessors as maybe being some of the early tent camping companies in Yellowstone that did this in the summertime before there were hotels. So back in the 1800s, you know, with the stagecoaches, there were tent camping companies. But I think we're probably been in business longer than the Shawn Powell and Wiley camps of the 1800s. I started initially with just some hexagonal tents, and then by 1987 or 88 had gone to these yurts for the dining room and kitchen. I grew up in Minnesota, ice fishing in the wintertime. If you've ever seen the movie Grumpy Old Men, you know, the little ice fishing houses. And so designed the sleeping huts kind of like a Minnesota ice fishing house. So if you were in Minnesota, there'd be a hole in each corner of one of those sleeping huts. You'd take the wood floor off and you'd drill a hole through the ice and fish. And so they were perfectly adaptable to this sort of situation.
What we do is house our clients, our guests, in little sleeping huts, I guess as you would call them. And legally, they have to be temporary, so these can all be disassembled at the end of the season. And during the winter, we set up 7 or 8 of these. Basically, they're heated by propane heaters, which take a propane tank that lasts typically from 4 to 6 nights. And every storm, every substantial amount of snow, probably 2 or 3 inches or more, we have to snow blow and remove the snow around the sleeping huts, because if not, the snow will not be able to slide off the roofs and collapse the canvas. And after, as you can see right now, it's basically 2 to 3 feet of snow on the ground, and it's just the beginning of January. So at the end of our season, which is typically the beginning of March, it will be waist deep. And at the end of the winter, in April, sometimes it can be even to the tops of the roofs of the hut.
This is my lovely cabin for the week. Very comfy, very warm, thanks to plenty of heat and my own personal thermostat on the wall. Bed's super comfy, I sleep incredibly well. You can see there are a lot of hooks around the room to hang up gloves, mittens, jackets, everything, to dry it out after a day of skiing or after a morning of skiing. It's pretty great, comfy, about all you could ask for. I'm having a great time.
There's things happen here, and especially in the winter, that I don't think are things that happen in, you know, downtown Billings or Minneapolis. And that's that there's this, what I like to call wildness. You know, you go out into Hayden Valley, and if there's a wolf pack there, or even a coyote, you know, if it's going to eat tonight, it's going to eat somebody else. If their bison is going to survive, he's going to dig through 4 or 5 feet of snow to get grass. And there's just natural processes that happen that I think are really kind of interesting. And I wanted to share that sort of wildness with visitors and people, and let them experience what, you know, solitude, quietness, and the natural wonders of Yellowstone in the wintertime.
Thank you.
Say about 10 below, instead of forming plates, they freeze into crystals. For some reason, that temperature determines the crystalline structure of the ice. And when you start to get prisms, then you start to get a lot more of this full circle, rainbow, ice bowl, and especially the sundogs.
You get dizzy looking at it.
Oh yeah. The thing that you don't see with a photograph is this drifting
Yeah,
of particles.
yeah, especially up there.
Chaos.
There you go. Christy, snowplow. You got it. You got it.
Go Astro! Hooah, hooah, Astro!
It is, it's on the difficult side at first because the snow is deep, and being able to manage the depth of the snow is something you have to get used to. But once you get your ski legs, it's the snow is dry, the snow is nice and crisp. So I'd say once you get some experience, it's moderate. And a lot of our terrain that we ski on is not very steep. It's rolling, and this is basically our most extreme trail that we do. These mountains and the terrain in Yellowstone is something that is not visited. It's visited very rarely, even even during the summer and off trail during the winter. And during the winter, you can travel just about anywhere you want, especially with a good snowpack and a good pair of skis and some orienteering skills and some confidence being in the backcountry. It's really a beautiful place that a lot of people don't really realize it's here.
So the penguin does a little penguin waddle walk, you know, a penguin do, down to the ice cream parlor, and he gets a double cone, you know, and he's eating it, and it's pretty good, right?
You know, I think there's things that you hope they take away. I think there's things that they, you know, I don't know that necessarily we know what was the most special event for somebody. But, you know, really want people to at least come away with some idea of how special Yellowstone is.